Heather. Hey, Heather.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Sarisa Richardson, one of the WISE Women Business Center coaches. And I am joined today with Lacey, who is also another business coach. For those of you who are new to our Power Hour and new to WISE, I'd like to just say welcome and hello and thank you for joining us. And just to give you a brief overview of WISE, WISE Women's Business Center helps female business owners in Central New York develop smart and successful business strategies. We offer free one-on-one coaching, free online learning modules, free webinars, and free virtual networking opportunities because we are 100% committed to your success. And I genuinely, honestly mean that. WISE Women's Business Center worked diligently over the last few months to develop content that addresses your biggest business concerns. Stay engaged with us here on Facebook and follow us on LinkedIn and Instagram for access to our extensive knowledge base around important topics like financial literacy, virtual best practices, remote technology, and cyber hygiene, which is a new term that I actually just learned, as well as accurate and up-to-date COVID-19 resources for your businesses. So we're here to help you, and we encourage you to connect with us so that we can help each of you achieve your dreams as well. So thank you again for joining us today. If you are joining us on Zoom, feel free to leave comments in our chat box. And for those of you who are joining us live on Facebook, please also feel free to leave comments in the comment box as we enjoy a lively and informative discussion. Lacey, why don't you do the honor of telling us what we're talking about today?
What are we talking about? I don't think we always have 100% knowledge of that, but today is going to be an amazing day because it's one of my favorite topics, and it's maximizing productivity. So I feel like as business owners especially, it's about how to wring the most out of every moment, second, hour of the week. And it can be so like, oh my God, I feel like I'm being wrung out, energy is dripping all over the floor. What a waste. So we're not really steering in how to overwhelm yourself or how to pack your calendar even more full. Today, we really want to talk about that productivity as far as if you have a chunk of time, how do you make the most of it? In whatever that means to you. So Sarisa and I talked earlier about some really creative things that not many people talk about all the time. So we might kind of get a little crazy with it. One of my favorite ones, we'll just start going right in. Rest when you need to rest. That is my all-time biggest takeaway, I think. Between years of an amazing therapist and I have my own business coach, they're always telling me, it's my knee-jerk reaction. Sarisa, I think you're the same way. We tend to do the whole, oh my God, I'm just going to push through today. I'm just 2 more meetings. I'm just going to dig deep and finish out the day. And so many times I've realized, holy crap, if I had just taken even 20 minutes to kick my feet up and reset myself, I wouldn't need a week of vacation. I wouldn't be so burnt out. It's that I just need to be true to myself and rest when I need to rest.
I agree with that, Lacey. I've noticed also, I'm not sure if anyone else, if you resonate with this, please leave some hearts on the Facebook comments or leave some comments in the chat. But I feel like I'm the most burnout and restless, the way you just mentioned, whenever I feel like I'm just like working in this hamster wheel and I feel like I have like a to-do list that never ends. That's when I feel like my days can't ever end and I have to burn myself out because I'm trying to attack this everlasting long to-do list. And I think while we're talking about maximizing productivity, I almost want to take a step back and just talk about the word productive. Like, what does it even mean? What does it even mean in the world of a business owner? What does it mean to be productive? You know, and if I genuinely welcome each of you to think about that for a second and give me some comments in the chats, because it's something I struggle with as a new-ish business owner as well, and something I challenged myself to think about throughout my career when I was working in corporate America. Just this word of productivity and being productive, what it almost to me requires is goal setting. You know, let's get back to the basics.
Even on a different note, I love that you frickin' tied in what it means. Because I think, gosh, for me personally, it was, well, if I'm going to be productive, I have to get as many checks on the check boxes as possible. And get my tasks done and the list done, in addition to the clients and all of the things, right? And which didn't give me the space or the safety to take the rest days that I needed, or to do what I needed to do to take care of myself, or to take a step back from the business, look at the bigger picture for a minute, because I wasn't getting enough things done, so I wasn't productive. So for me, redefining productivity was a huge game changer. And all of a sudden, with a more fluid and flexible definition, being restful is being productive. And having a brainstorm session for half a day with my key members is productive. Instead of saying, oh, I didn't get anything done, but, you know, a couple ideas that I'm going to launch. And, you know, like, it was a really big deal to be able to say, hey, I was productive and I rested. I read a couple books that I've been meaning to read. I did my continuing education, and it was a productive day.
And I love that we're getting some fun comments, Lacey. One of Carrie says, rest is something I got to schedule in. I agree. Is there ever a way to catch up on the to-do list?
Just put the list down.
What do you mean? I got like 8 of them.
I know, right?
Carrie, would you mind introducing yourself to the group?
Hey, I'm Carrie. My business is Amaranth Press and Bindery. It's been a side business for 20 years, actually, while I worked my day job. I got laid off in March, so things are a lot different. And also, I just started a paralegal program, an online program, so things are different yet again. The unemployment I've been getting is probably going to be ending soon, so that's changing things again, and shit's crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know, like, but I need to up my game for sure. I need to pay for my studio. I need to pay my business bills, and, you know, pray that I can do some drawing to, you know, supplement the personal too. So
you sound like a business owner over there, Carrie.
I don't know what that's defined as. I don't know anymore. Yeah. So
I know Carrie very well, so that's our friendly banter. What did you say? I'm sorry, you broke up a little.
I don't remember.
Okay, well, I was just telling everyone I know Carrie very well, so that's our friendly banter back and forth. But to answer your question, so how do you check off the to-do list? I think it really starts with, and Lacey, feel free to jump in if you think of other things to add.
I will jump in, because the question's how to catch up on the to-do list, not check it off.
Ooh, thanks for the correction, because that is definitely 2 different things.
Well, the problem that I have is that, you know, my to-do list never ends. It's always growing, but then I lose track of the not urgent things until it becomes urgent. And then I'm like, oh, crap, you know, like, so I'm having a hard time trying to fit in the urgent and the non-urgent and keep it in a timeline. And then, of course, with the school program I'm on now, I have weekly assignments that are pretty intense. So I got to work that in there now too. So it's just like, oh, how do I fit all these bits together?
Yeah, and then also remembering to rest, because you can't pour from an empty cup. So you gotta rebuild your energy at different points. Lacey, you got some tips?
Yeah, if someone's just listening, I'm dying over here because Carrie looks like she's about ready to crawl through the computer and get Sarisa for saying that.
Here's my rest. It's my
right. I think as we go through, this will be super helpful for you, Carrie, because Sarisa and I definitely were talking about exactly that situation. Sarisa and I both are business owners. She owns Gypsy Freedom. For those of you who don't know, I own Full Bodied Health. We also have our WISE. We're taking on clients in the amount that could be determined as more than a part-time job. Sarisa has a little at home. I have 2 teens at home.
All right, good. That's what
we're balancing relationships. We're both married. It's
in full disclosure, crazy. I am a serious hot mess mom. Like, I don't even believe in, I can't believe in what a good mom is or a bad mom, or else I would just be depressed all day.
But I think that ties into what we're talking about with productivity is getting rid of the stigma. Oh my God, I'm so sorry, Carolyn. I almost swore again. I'm really trying to tone it down on the lives.
I did it.
To let go of the damn stigma and biases. So working moms can still be successful parents. And let's get rid of the judgment words about good mom and bad mom. And it goes hand in hand with redefining productivity. So in terms of a to-do list, let it go. The self-worth and our value is not wrapped up in how many check marks we get. It's never going to be done. So if we constantly sit there and spend time on how do I catch up, how do I catch up, how do I catch up, the next day, it's just going to be something else on a new list. So it's really learning how to define for myself, what is the priority for the day? And we're just going to tackle that. And if I have extra time, great, I'm going to go to my B list. And if I have time for something else, great, I'll go to my C list. But I'm a huge believer in know thyself and schedule accordingly. I am unfortunately a low energy person right now due to a couple interesting health issues. So for me, I need to make sure that every ounce of energy is going towards something that's productive. And for me, that means productivity is defined as something that's bringing me closer to my business or personal goals. So if resting is bringing me to my personal goal of health, great. If tackling my checklist is going to bring me closer to business goals, awesome. But sometimes it's just scheduling in a way that makes sense. So all my WISE clients are typically back to back. All my nutrition clients are back to back. I block schedule time to do my to-do list. And when that time is up, even though sometimes it makes me sick to my stomach that I have to put the pen down and close the laptop, I deserve an hour of rest. Damn it. The laptop is going away. Because I cannot be the mom I want to be, the business owner I want to be, or the coach people deserve me to be if I'm not taking care of myself. And self-care is not the same as self-maintenance.
So let's talk about, Lacey, some of the, because you mentioned actually quite a few strategies in there that I'd like to just separate for a second, for women like myself and like Carrie, who are in desperate need of help in this particular area. I feel like there are several components to this idea of productivity and how we maximize it. So there's a mental and emotional component. And one of the strategies that I heard you mention.
Hey, Sarisa, you completely cut out.
Oh.
Can we hear you now?
Uh-oh.
Okay, can you guys hear me now?
Oh, there you are. Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Damn, we just missed the it.
Yeah, sorry. Technical difficulties over here at my house. So I was just saying, I feel like that mental and emotional piece to the productivity is a personal side. You know, there's a personal side to it, where you almost have to decide and change your perspective and your paradigm about what it means to be productive. So before we even talk about all of these other strategies, let's really, make sure we think about that. What does it mean to be productive to you? Does it mean having a fully checked off checklist, and why? And is it realistic? And, really, as you go about your days, think about that when you wake up each day. What do I have to do today to make me feel at the end of the day, to make me feel like, okay, this was a very productive day? Sometimes for me, all that is cleaning up my showroom. It was very productive that to me, if I woke up and cleaned up my studio and it looks the way that I want it to look for when clients come to visit, to me, that was productive. And why is because of X, Y, Z. I have certain number of clients lined up to come in and blah, blah, blah. So to me, that is what was important enough to set as my primary goal that day. And of course, there's other stuff on the checklist to do that I might need to have or like to have, but does that have to be done that day? So really, I would think of it as like, take it from a day to day and almost hour by hour outlook of what do I have to do to feel productive today? That's one strategy that I heard you say, Lacey. Another one that we mentioned, and so there's the first component of productivity was that mental and emotional piece. And then now there's also this sort of measurable quantitative piece, right? Where we are thinking about strategies to set effective goals, so taking it way back to the basics of, what's an effective, measurable goal that I can tie my productivity to today? Is it, I have an assignment due, for one of my classes, Carrie, and, it's due, next week. So I have 10 days
every
to do
Tuesday. Big assignment.
Okay. So you've got 7 days to do your assignment, from one Tuesday to the next. So maybe do you break it down to say that, I feel productive if I've got, a piece of this assignment done every single day, and what specific piece. So actually like planning it and charting it out so that you don't feel so overwhelmed at the idea of eating this elephant, this big assignment. Let's break it down into pieces, something that you can achieve each day.
All right. Well, I am kind of doing that already. Even if it doesn't happen on the day I think it should, I am breaking it down. So that's something.
Awesome. And then, so thinking about how you fuse that in with the rest of your life. So, we've got kids, we've got businesses, we've got secondary ventures. Some of us the business that we're running is not our primary source of income, right? So how do we every day set effective goals that touch each of those components? Does that make you feel productive? Or even setting, weeks to make sure that each month you're focusing on those specific areas, you know what I mean? And making sure you're not looking at time as this static thing that I only have one day to do something. How can I plan it out and stretch it out?
Carrie's dancing again.
So silly.
I feel like it really ties into prioritizing.
Yeah, that's always been my weak point, because I just, I get the to-do list and it gets to be a mile long, but then I forget the things that are not urgent until they are urgent, and then I'm off track. And then my freaking washer breaks and I got to bring out my stupid clothes instead of finishing up my homework.
Right. You have to have some flexibility in there because I found when I schedule the most back to back, that's usually when something happens that's completely outside of my control that reminds me why I shouldn't do that. Yeah, right on the nose.
Lacey,
Teresa
you
had
mentioned another strategy that I would love for you to expand on. You mentioned your A list, B list, and C list, and that's goes back to this effective goal setting. And it's a very common strategy that I don't think many people know about and how to effectively use that tactic. Would you mind talking about how you use it, Lacey?
Sure. I love that we're constantly like, but Sarisa, you had said earlier today, it was such a great reminder. If everything is number one, then nothing's number one. And it was kind of that's right. And we all have a different way that works for us to set priorities. And I want to pull the emotional piece of this out as well after I kind of give like the tactical stuff. So I personally use an A, B, C, D type of a way to prioritize. So A is super important, urgent. It is top one priority. I'm a little in depth. So I even go to the extent of having A1, A2, A3. So my A's, my A.
All right, I ain't suggesting that all of y'all do that. Lacey is a little extra. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. Keep telling.
You mean Lacey, that all the super urgent things that you go in order? So you number like, this is definitely first today and then second today. Is that how you mean that you order it?
Kind of, yeah. So I'm a big believer in block scheduling. So chunks of my day are dedicated to certain things. So if it's a day that I take clients, they're literally back to back, clumped together, because switching mindset between, okay, I'm task oriented versus client oriented, it's so much harder to keep going back and forth that the longer I can group them together, the less switching of my mindset, the better off I am energy wise. But when it comes to my to-do list, yeah, stuff that absolutely has to get done first, undoubtedly, there's a couple things that need to be done first. I prioritize them. So if I have a few A's and a few B's and a few C items, then I go back further. And what it does for me is makes sure that there's only one number one. There's only one number two. Because when everything is a first priority, then nothing is a first priority. So it really forces me to get very clear as to the first thing I'm doing, the second thing I'm doing, the third thing I'm doing. There was a different method that I used for quite a while. I literally had sticky notes on my wall and I had tape on my wall so that I had 4 quadrants, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And the higher up, the more important it was. And the more on this side, the more urgent it was. And so when I got a task, I would write it on a sticky note and then put it in the correct quadrant as to how urgent or important it was. And then the sticky notes would move between the quadrants depending on what was going on with the day. I'm a visual person, so I really liked that. The only reason I don't use it now is because I travel between home office and my physical office, and I can't bring a wall with me.
Yeah, the trouble I have with doing that method is that I lose track of the steps from the different projects because I'll have, 5 different projects at a given time. So it's, like keeping the project in line and then breaking the task off into the level of urgency that doesn't quite fit in my brain right now.
So for you, Carrie, I just typed in the chat box, Trello.com, and it is a free cloud-based platform. So you can pull it up as a web page, and they have a free app for phones, iPads, whatever. And it has saved me. I got Sarisa hooked into it. When I have a project or something that's multiple steps, I use a Trello board. And I am more than happy to jump on a call with you, or we can dedicate a power hour where I share my screen and teach you how to use it. But it's very, very user friendly. And it's free. But that's
Carrie
how I stay
actually,
organized.
She's one of my clients. So Carrie, we can do that during our next session if you would like.
All right, yeah, I'll take a look at that. Yeah, like Lacey, I'm definitely a visual person, so putting it on a computer or in my phone, like that's not setting well, but I'll take a look and see.
Yeah. I think you'll be surprised. For a visual person, it works very nicely.
And for me, I love that we just walked through your the list take. I wouldn't call it list writing strategy. It's really a goal setting strategy.
Yep.
And for me, I am a note taker. Like I find if I don't actually physically write something down, I will forget it very easily. So you'll always see me like with one of these really old school things called notebooks and a pen and an actual piece of paper. Yeah. So in terms of the quadrant thing, so I don't do that, but I do employ a similar A list, B list, C list methodology. And for me, it's what do I need to do? What would I like to do? And what would I do that's like a bonus? You know what I mean? That's either just for me or just like icing on the top for the business. You know what I mean? I think it's good to pull those things out, because if I happen to get them done today, it's like, ooh, I was extra productive. I deserve something. You know what I mean? And I think that's why we get burnout sometimes, is because we forget to celebrate when we are quote unquote productive or successful. So Anna Gill is on, and she also mentioned a few fun things. She says, prioritizing a to-do list is such a challenge for me. I find myself making a to-do list for my to-do list. And Lacey responded, forcing prioritizing may be helpful, and getting specific with the A list, B list methodology may help. So that's just making that public, just in case that's helpful for some of those of you who are on Facebook and can't see our friendly chat. So I carry around, like I said, a notebook with my need to have, want to have, and what's that extra special. And I just write in it, every day and check it off every day. So that's, something simple if you're not super techie and you don't have smartphones and things like that, because there are people like that in the world.
Very, very true. When I only have 2 hours to tackle my to-do list, but it's like Carrie says, a mile long, I need to know what I'm doing first, second, third. So that's not the time for me to figure that out. So I prioritize, and I picked this up from a couple people. I think Warren Buffett does this. I know Donald Miller talks about this. Big business gurus, they talk about Sunday night, looking at your week and knowing your schedule. And then in the morning, before you start work, so if you're supposed to be working at 8, then at 7:50, you're planning your day. You're putting in if you're going to take lunch and when, you're going to put in when you're doing your notes, you're going to put in, schedule your day.
Yeah.
Because
every hour counts.
We do. We end up losing time if we don't. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, I have a few minutes. I'm just going to pick up my phone. And then an hour goes by and you're like, well, there goes that hour.
And
but
give
if you know what you're
yourself some
supposed to
grace.
be doing, you're good.
Yeah. And I think we also have to remember to give ourselves grace when we don't stick to our plan for whatever reason. Stuff happens. And I think, there's, again, that emotional side to productivity is remember to forgive yourself. Some days we have off days, some days we're really on and we're hitting all of our goals. But I think we need to remember to forgive ourselves and treat ourselves like the friend that we want to have, say that it's okay to yourself and give yourself permission to take a nap if you're really tired, you know?
Right. Heather on Zoom is giving a big thumbs up to that. And I think that goes back to, again, redefining productivity, to be open to flexibility and being fluid, so that, oh God, if everything is so rigid, and I know I talk about block scheduling, but it's always with that little buffer. There's buffers throughout my day because I want to enjoy life, and it's so adventurous, so that when something happens that seems crazy and out of my control, I want my reaction to be able to be, okay, plot twist, what is this going to happen? What are we doing now? And it's an adventure, instead of, I'll throw the pen, here we go, I'm late for this and I can't do this. And I don't want to be cranky all the time. Yeah, I don't got time for that, or energy. I hate being cranky.
So, Lacey, I also want to mention, another strategy that I think is really important, since we're on a call with a bunch of women business owners, right? I think it's really important that we sit down a little bit, this strong woman syndrome, and learn how to ask for help, and learn that it's okay to ask for help, and when you need help. One of the ways you effectively can ask for help is reaching out to the WISE Women's Business Center and plugging in the resources, plugging into our business coaching sessions. But another way is, maybe your business is expanding to the point where you may want to consider bringing in an employee. And this is it tends to be always a difficult conversation with business owners. And I don't know if it's just women business owners, because I do feel like culturally, just American culture is that we can do this on our own. Just women we have that in our mindset. And I think we have there's a bit of shame and guilt built into the need to ask for help sometimes with us. But learning when it might be time for you to bring on an assistant or bring on an employee. And there are strategies and ways in which you can do that, where you could possibly train someone to be just like you. Because I know in the back of your head, you're probably thinking, I don't know, I can't find the right person. It's going to take me more time to train this person. Well, how can we strategically build that into your business plan? How can we bring on an intern and effectively train that person before it becomes this urgent need to hire someone, and now you haven't even built your pipeline. What do you think about that, Lacey? Do you see that challenge with specifically women business owners as well?
Yes and no. I attribute it to personality a lot. Sometimes it can be hard to give up control, and for a lot of people, their business is their baby. And just like you have a little, I remember it seems like ages and ages ago when I left my kids for the first time with someone, it's kind of like, oh my God, but yeah. Then it's kind of like, okay, can she come over now? I need a break. You said a little earlier, a few sentences ago, you talked about shame and guilt. And I feel like those two words are so strongly wrapped up with the concept of productivity, especially in American culture. That I was like, that hit something right there. I was listening to a podcast, imagine that, me and a podcast, this morning on the way to the office, and she was talking about guilt. And it's an emotion that we can choose to feel, even though we don't realize we're choosing to feel it. And that really got me to thinking the difference between shame and guilt, and how, at least in my life, and the clients I've talked with so far, the word balance seems to be thrown at us so much. And it's interesting because I don't hear that word being thrown around with
Today.
guys as much, which kind of, you know, makes my eye twitch, and I get this thing. Why is that? I don't get it, because there isn't always 100% of the time going to be a balance. I have honestly in my life never seen two people on a teeter-totter perfectly balanced. Someone's up, someone's down, and then it gets flip-flopped. And I don't know, maybe I'm from a different place, but that was what made it fun and exciting, and that's life. You know, sometimes family is not going to be number one. Sometimes work is not going to be number one. But the more we try to make both number one, the more we feel shame. And that difference is guilt is I did something bad, versus shame, I am bad. And so in terms of this context, what I hear a lot from clients, and I used to find myself saying a lot, is as I'm at the office finishing up something that's going to bring income to my family so that we can provide in the way that I want and is meaningful, I would catch my inner voice saying, I'm a bad mom because I'm still here. I was like, I beg to differ. I am a great mom. Not perfect by any means. I'm just a hardworking mom. So I'm still at the office getting stuff done. So it's just interesting that the inner voice goes from guilt, oh, I'm still at the office, I'm working hard, to I'm a bad mom.
Yeah.
What is that?
So I feel like the strategy really that we should probably be talking about as it's associated with this sort of asking for help is delegating, you know? So when we get to that point, you know, how do you know? And I'm gonna throw this question out to the group because I have my own answer, but I'm curious with everyone else. How do you know when you've gotten to the point that now you have to ask for help or delegate to something or someone else for a particular thing? How do you know you've gotten to that point?
I would love to jump in and remind you, if you want to stay in the background but still want to participate, feel free to use the Zoom chat box or Facebook chat and type it in. We can keep you anonymous if that's what you prefer. And also, while you think of your answer, I'll put that plug in there. If you do want to work with a business WISE coach, myself, Sarisa, and Barb, it's free to you guys, thanks to the generous grants and donations. All you have to do is follow the link that Carolyn will put in the chat box and on Facebook, and we can take it from there.
Awesome. So while we're waiting for people while we're waiting for you ladies to think about that sort of off the cuff guided discussion topic, I'll give you an example or I'll give you two examples of how I knew. So one is a personal example. So after my husband and I got married and we moved into our house together, and, you know, the normal couple things happen of you now combine all this stuff into this one place happens. I actually really do. I'm one of those weird people who I really like to clean. Like, I love the way it smells. Like when you have a nice freshly bleached house, I love like pints all on wood floors and like really clean mirrors. Like, so in my head, my house like looks like it's on HGTV because I love to clean. So shouldn't my house look like that all the time? So I really began to get into these like self-guilt battles of like being a bad mom and being a bad woman by just not keeping my house clean, because I worked a significant number of hours. And whenever I would do my ABC list, you know, my need to have, want to have, you know, here's a bonus, you know, cleaning the house never made any one of those lists. It never, you know, it's something I would love to have a clean house. Yeah. But it wasn't really like a priority that day or any day ever. And it became like being this thing that it was never a priority. It never made it to my bonus list because it became, I'd been working so much that my bonus was if I could just get 2 hours of uninterrupted sleep. Like it was like, oh, that's a win. You know, I can get a nap today, I'm winning. You know, cleaning the house, you know, scrubbing my tub and cleaning my oven. Oh my God, which I actually love to do. Never made it. So my husband and I really had to sit down and talk about, like, we need to look at our family budget and incorporate a cleaning person, or else this house is never going to get clean. It's never going to make any of our lists, you know, because it's just not, it's important, but it's not really important for the two of us to be doing, you know? So that's when we decided to delegate and hire a housekeeper, you know? So that's a personal example. In a professional example, my business is currently all online. So I do a lot of e-commerce, and a lot of my marketing is all online as well. A lot of social media marketing. And social media is one of those tools that you could honestly go down on multi-hour long rabbit holes with. And it can become this unfulfilling, draining activity that you need to have to grow your business. You know, it's always on your need to have list, but I don't know, maybe it's just me. Give me some hearts and comments if you relate, but it becomes this just draining suck of time in your business, but you need to have it. So it's always on your list, and it's always something that has to get done. But do you actually have to be the person that does it? And there are actually really interesting and cool tools that you could use to delegate some of that work to. So I've recently started scheduling a lot of my social media content. So, you know, I pick a day or a couple days, a couple hours in a day to schedule and create content, put it in the electronic tool, and it just posts for me, you know, and I engage when I can, as I can, but there's an electronic way that you can delegate certain things. So those are two ways that I've incorporated it. And I'm just curious if anyone else have any other examples.
I have bad examples. I can't afford to hire anybody, of course, right now. And I've asked friends for help, and it didn't go so well.
Oh,
and
Jesus.
I was further behind than before. So I have a really hard time with delegating in that way. I have trust issues. And if I'm not paying my friend, like they're my friend, of course, that friendship is first. So I don't know how to do that part exactly.
Yeah, it can be frustrating. I had a big issue with, I remember my husband at one point, why don't you just ask for help? And I was like, because no one helps me. And at least I can just pretend like you guys don't know versus if I ask and don't get it. And there's, you know, a couple conversations with the kids, and like, okay, when I ask, it's not because I need help. That time has passed. I'm asking because I'm crying and I'm past the need for help and just need some serious TLC beyond that, and probably food while we're at it.
So how can we make this, okay, so we have the one question of how do you know that you've gotten to that point?
Crying and you need food. Yeah, nothing else to do.
I was
So
laughing.
I feel like
when Teresa was talking, that's how I knew I needed help. I remember as a financial advisor and as a woman in that field, I felt the pressure of needing to prove myself and that I could do it. And I had heard my directing manager, he kept saying, just get an assistant, just get an assistant. I can't afford it. I'm a single mom at the time. And I just, like, I can do it, because if I'm not
What a jerk who just tell you to go get an assistant like they just freaking appear. That's a crazy. I'm not
was an amazing
You don't know about
person.
The fairy godmother assistants?
Just wait for it, because it all ties in. Because here's what I learned. I realized I needed help, and I needed to listen to him when I got home, and my daughter, who was maybe 6 at the time, she asked me, she was like, what's for dinner tonight? And I literally lost my ever-living everything. I started crying, and there's snot, and it was a mess. And it was because I had totally forgotten that I hadn't figured out what was for dinner. So there weren't chicken nuggets in the fridge. She wasn't vegan at the time. There was nothing, because I was just so like, here I am focused on X, Y, and Z. So I took the advice. I asked him for a couple referrals, asked some guys in the office, who would you use? Do you know anyone? I'm looking for an assistant. And because I recruited that way, I got some really qualified people. I had 3-question interview because I had no idea what I was doing. That alone scared most of them away. So the pool narrowed. And I ended up 1099 this assistant so that I could say, look, I'm commission only, and I only have 2 cases closing this week, so you only have 3 hours. And I would pay her after she was done with them. So it gave me that flexibility, and her, to say, it's not going to be a W-2 position where here's your salary. I'm going to start out small with you. And I made sure that for the 3 hours or 5 hours, whatever she was doing, my butt was doing something that brought a client into my office. And that's how hiring help works. A lot of the other guys in the office would hire an assistant, pay her, and lose money because they would go home early, or they'd go out to lunch for 2 hours instead of just, 45 minutes or whatever. My butt was making phone calls. I was working it, because I knew if I didn't use that time to bring money in, it was going to be a waste of time to have help. And now with my nutrition business, doors have been open for 7-8 months. It's the same thing. I know I need help when I'm near tears. I'm not usually a crier, so it's a big sign for me. Mm-hmm. But I know if I'm handing off marketing or bookkeeping, because I block schedule, I know that I was spending X amount of hours on that per week. Those blocks are now filled with stuff that's bringing me clients. It's green activities. That way, what goes out comes in double fold.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned so many strategies, Lacey, that I just, again, want to pull out.
It's a general power hour. That's what one-on-one coaching is for.
Yeah. But so the first was 1099 versus W-2 employees. I think that might be a really fun topic to do a power hour on its own. Not just those two, but just in general, payroll, hiring, and all that good stuff. So I'm glad that these are recorded on Facebook, so we have that note to go back as we're thinking about content. If that's something you'd be interested in attending, please leave a comment and let us know. Like, yeah, definitely create one of those power hours, or no, I'd never attend something like that. But one of the strategies that you mentioned that I find myself working with my clients on doing a lot is really, you got to think about your employee or whoever you're delegating to as this strategic tool that you're using to now grow your business in other ways. This should not just be some busybody that's doing work that you just don't want to do, right? So in order to do that, you really have to have a clear sense of direction of what it is that you specifically do as CEO of your business. What is it that you do that only you can do, that only you need to do in your business? And then what are those other things that maybe someone else can do with appropriate training? And what is that appropriate training? Is it a workbook that you give them the day of? Is it a video that you create? Like if I want to bring someone into my business to just package and ship things, is it easier for me to record myself packaging an item and give it to them so that I don't have to actually physically be there to train them? And now I can use that time to do something else, So I guess my second sort of guided discussion topic that I'd love for us to think about, and like Lacey said, this is probably going to be our last point, because believe it or not, it's almost 1 o'clock. But how can we incorporate delegating into our business strategy, just as an actual strategy? How can we build our business to be ready to bring on someone else when we've gotten to that point of, okay, now I'm ready, I'm overwhelmed, or I'm needing to grow my business in other ways. So I need to spend my time and energy as CEO of, XYZ company. I need to spend my time and energy in a different, more valuable way.
Those are really good questions. I know I'm the type of person where I hear a question like that and I'm kind of like, oh, I need to mull that over for some time and really give that some thought.
And that's the point, Lacey, and that's really what I love about these power hours is there's so many phenomenal nuggets. And again, these are recorded. So for those of you who are watching on Facebook and joining via Zoom, if we've come up with points today that you really wanted to dig into, excellent. That's what these are for. And you can certainly go back and watch all of our power hours on our Facebook page.
Perfect. So on that note, we can start wrapping it up. Again, if you're interested in free business coaching with the WISE Business Coaches, Sarisa, myself, or Barb, Caitlin posted a link on the Facebook in the comments. I think everyone on here are already clients on the Zoom. It doesn't matter if it's an idea that you're considering and want to explore, or if you've been in business for eons and decades, we're here for you no matter what. So just because you're in business by yourself doesn't mean it has to be lonely. But on that note,
you're not alone.
Yeah, for real. It gets lonely. On that note, I think we will all let you go. Enjoy the last bit of your lunch hour and have a good one.
Yeah, thank you all for joining today. Hopefully we'll see you again next week.
Yep. Hit me up, Sarisa. I'll talk to you soon.
Yes, ma'am. Talk to you soon.
All right, later. Thank you so much.